My top 3 exercises which you should be doing if you want big, round, complete 3D shoulders. So my name's Sam Board. I've been bodybuilding for 10 years. I've competed at one of the highest amateur levels in the men's physique division. I'm co-founder of Built by Board Twins alongside my twin brother James Board, and we've helped hundreds of people get in the best shape of their lives. And today I'm going to run you through my top 3 exercises which you should be doing if you want those big, round, complete 3D looking shoulders. So firstly, what are the muscles that are inside our shoulders? There's 3 heads that we want to be hitting. We've got the front deltoid, the side deltoid, and the rear deltoid. Now, if we want complete shoulders, we want to make sure that we're hitting all 3 of these effectively. So first and foremost, the first exercise that we're going to go with is the shoulder press, which is going to target the front deltoid. Now, while we're targeting the front deltoid, it's important to understand the range of motion that we want to be going through, just so we can set the shoulder press up effectively. So the range of motion from your front deltoid is going to be all the way from down here to all the way up here, and that's the range that we want to be going through. So the way we're going to set up the shoulder press, this could be a machine shoulder press, it could be a dumbbell shoulder press, it could be a Smith machine shoulder press, whatever variation you can at best with. We want to make sure that we are allowing ourselves to get into this lengthened position on our front deltoid and also in the fully short position on our front deltoid. So what I recommend doing is, firstly, instead of having our shoulders out wide here like most people do, we're going to twist the dumbbells in, or twist the handles in, grab a more neutral handle, and tuck our elbows in towards our body, because this is going to allow us to get nice and deep and get fully lengthened on that front deltoid, rather than being all the way out to the side and really limiting our range of motion. As well as that, I suggest having the bench slightly back, so at a slight angle, to allow the weight to sit down in that lengthened position, rather than being up front here and putting a lot of pressure through the shoulder joints. So the reason we go for a pressing variation rather than a front raise variation is because we're going to get more load on the movement, and we're going to really allow ourselves to load up that front deltoid. The front deltoid also gets a lot of stimulation from other exercises and other sessions that we do. Like when we hit a chest day and we're doing incline work, we typically get a lot of front deltoid in there as well. So there's plenty of stimulation in there. Other alternatives, like I said, could be any front raise variation to hit this muscle. I prefer going with a pressing variation, but it's entirely up to you. But that is number 1, it's the shoulder press. Number 2 is going to be a side raise variation. So for me, I prefer to go for any cable side raise or machine side raises. When we say a side raise, we're simply going to be lifting our arms up to the side of us here, and this is going to allow us to hit that side deltoid. So we've hit the front, we're now going to hit that side deltoid. Now the reason I like to go for cable variations or machine variations is because it's going to allow us to load the side deltoid through the full range of motion. Now you'll notice when you pick up a dumbbell, for example, say we were to pick up some 50-kilogram dumbbells, and if I was to put my arms down by my side here and I was to go for a 6-inch range of motion down the bottom of the movement, or I was to have the same load go through the same range of motion at the top of the movement here. Now, you know, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the movement is going to be incredibly hard up here and incredibly easy down here, which basically means the strength curve of the movement is very uneven, and our muscles aren't working at their max capacity through the full range of motion. They're only working at their max capacity through this top range here. Whereas if we go with machine variations or cable variations, it's going to allow us to load that side deltoid a lot more evenly through the full range of motion. So my choice of exercise number 2 is going to be a cable side raise or a machine side raise. Now, a couple things to implement here to make this movement a bit more effective. So firstly, what does the side deltoid do? The side deltoid simply rotates the shoulder joint out to the side. It has nothing to do with any part of my hand or my forearm. Where we're actually holding the weight, we want to see this as just handles, and I want you to imagine just pulling the side of that top part of your arm up. So the first tip is going to be to use cuffs on your wrist. Now cuffs are going to remove this first joint here. So like I said, the less joints that weight has to travel through before it hits the side deltoid, the more activation we're going to get on that side deltoid. So by implementing cuffs on our wrist, if we're doing cable variations, it's going to allow us to remove one of the joints there. And then another thing we're going to do is we're going to pretend we're pushing the weight down to the ground and out. Instead of grabbing the weights and thinking about pulling up, we're going to pretend we're pushing the weight down to the ground, and then we're pushing that weight out to the side of us. Obviously our arms are naturally going to rise, but by visualizing this, it's going to stop our traps from engaging and allow us to keep the tension in that side deltoid. If you just think about pulling the weight up, then the traps engage and we get a lot of chuck in there, we get a lot of momentum, which is something we want to avoid. We want to keep that tension in the side deltoid. So exercise number 2, like we said, is a cable side raise or a machine side raise. Exercise number 3 that you should be doing to grow some big complete shoulders is going to be a rear deltoid movement. So we've got a couple variations here. This could be a reverse pec deck fly, it could be with dumbbells, it could be with cables, or we could even do a rope face pull, which is going to load the rear delts a bit more. Now for me, I prefer isolation work here, so I like to go for something like the reverse pec deck because it allows everything else to be stable and it allows us to really load up that rear deltoid. So exercise number 3 is going to be the reverse pec deck. So the way we're going to set this movement up is we're going to sit back in the seat slightly, so we're going to pull our ass to the back of the chair, just so we can place our chest in the pad. Now what would happen if we were to sit right up against the pad is as we come back into that short position, you're a lot more likely to let your chest lift off the pad. So by pulling our ass back, it allows us to keep our chest driven into that pad. It keeps everything stable because the only thing that the rear deltoid is influencing is, again, the shoulder joint to rotate out here. So the only thing that should be moving is this part of your arm here, and you really want to think about driving with this upper part of your arm. Now, if obviously our chest is coming off the pad, that's going to be adding momentum to the movement and helping us get that weight up and removing some of the tension from that rear deltoid. So by pulling our ass back in the chair, keeping our chest firmly in the pad, it's going to allow us to keep the tension in that rear deltoid. It's also going to have more of a high to low motion because we're going to be leaning against the pad like this. And that high to low motion is going to allow us to keep our traps out of it rather than a low to high motion, which is going to get a lot more trap involvement in there as well. So those are my top 3 exercises that you should be doing if you want to grow some big complete shoulders, guys. I do recommend having a couple variations of each of these exercises in your plan. So for the front deltoid, we can have a couple different pressing variations. This could be a dumbbell shoulder press, it could be a Smith machine shoulder press, it could be a machine shoulder press, one of your choice. In terms of the side deltoid, again, a couple variations. So we could have a couple cable variations. We could do crossbody, we could do single arm, we could do crucifix side raises. We've also got machine side raises, so there's plenty to choose from there. And then for the rear deltoid, we could do reverse pec deck, we could do cable reverse flies, we could do rope face pulls, we could even do it with dumbbells. But again, with the dumbbells, we're going to have that uneven strength curve, so I do opt to avoid these in this situation. But just make sure you choose variations which suit you. Okay, there's not a single exercise which is the best in the world. It's important you choose one which you get on well with, you can connect well with, and you can progress well. But those are my top 3 exercises for big shoulders, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.